What's up, everybody? We're back with a special edition of the Ad Podcast tonight. Tonight we have the Ad Bowl, which is the post-big game Super Bowl wrap-up show with 9 of your favorite creatives from across the interwebs. We got a bunch of Hollywood squares on the screen today, so bear with me as I bang out through some intros real fast. So you've got myself, your illustrious host, and we also, joining us from Austin, Texas, is the author of best-selling series, the Advertising Survival Guide trilogy, and freelance creative director and copywriter Cameron Day. Joining from New York, founder and chief George officer at George & Company and creator of the award-winning blog Ad Aged, George Tenenbaum. From Minneapolis, Minnesota, veteran creative director and founder of Geezer, a creative agency aimed at the most ignored advertising demo ever, the over 50 set Karen McKinley. And we have Alona Lisa, the chief creative officer of Far From Timid, and logging in from Dallas, Texas, president and chief creative officer of Firehouse Agency, veteran copywriter and creative leader Trip Westbrook, who's been a past guest on the show. Thank you back, Trip. And chiming in from Portland, Oregon, chief growth officer and opinionated group in Boulder with a list of alma mater agencies to be envied, Kate Higgins. And last, connecting from St. Paul, Minnesota, speaker, author, and new best-selling book, Appreciated Branding, president and chief creative officer at idea consultancy House of Homes, Reed Holmes, who was the mastermind behind this great gathering tonight. And we had one late ad, Robert Clifton, copywriter and creative director, and now founder and chief creative officer at Contender Labs from Chicago. Thanks so much, everybody. Really appreciate you guys joining for this historic event. So yeah, let's go ahead and kick it off. Maybe somebody who can jump in and just go ahead and give what was your favorite ad of the night? Who do you think won? I know all the data's in from Ad Age's Adometer and all the places that like to tell us who won, but I'd love to hear your guys' perspective in the room. So maybe a handful of people. What was the best ad of the night and why?
Dylan, why don't you call us one at a time?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, let's do that. Anybody raise their hand? Want to go first? All right. Alona, why don't you give us your take?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me, Dylan, and thanks for pulling this together. And it's nice to be with all of you on this Monday night. So thank you.
Thank you.
So I think I had 3 winners, but the first one ad that no one's really talking about that I think did a great job was Bosch. And I think they did a great job because it's a company that I've never heard of. And by the end of the ad, I understood what they did. And I wanted to and they also did it in a really entertaining way. They used a music strategy and a great talent strategy. And it was just weird. And I think being weird is totally what's going on right now. And it was weird in a great way. So I thought they did a great job. I think Dunkin' Donuts, for me, I think a good Super Bowl ad is an ad that supports the universe that the brand is already creating. So I think Dunkin' Donuts is already creating their world. So I thought they did a great job. I love the Dunkings merch. And then thirdly, I think Pfizer did a great job. I think even though it might have been for investors, I thought they did a great job. I got the goosebumps, and it's a repeatable format. They could do it over and over and over again with different stories.
Yeah, no, I think, the Pfizer one was very interesting to do a brand campaign really targeted around cancer. I know that's a big moonshot goal for them to tackle next, post-COVID. So we'll see if the reflection showed up in the stock price. But Robert, you want to give us your hot take?
Yeah, for me, I would say I hate to say it, but I think Nike won. I think we judge Nike against itself sometimes. So if I judge them against themselves, you would say it looks like something maybe they could have done 5 or 10 years ago and everything that they did. But it still, to me, stood out as the one spot where they understood what the Super Bowl is for. I believe that the Super Bowl, you're just your one chance to talk to everybody. And so everybody's
Mhm.
watching. So you kind of have to please the people who have been following you all along and understand who you are. And then people from the outside who maybe have written you off or don't you see you as, their favorite brand. This is your opportunity to speak to them. And then I think it's also the one time that consumers are actually looking for a commercial. Usually it's annoying, but this is the particular time where people are sitting because they want to, vote in the poll. And so it's the one time where you need to not just do business, you also need to entertain, right? It feels to me a little bit in general in the last couple of years of the Super Bowl, brands have turned more to business and forgotten that that's what it's for. And so it's also a chance for you to show your creativity, and you're competing against everybody for entertainment. And so I kind of felt like that was really lacking this year. It was a lot of to do.
That was actually my one issue with it. Am I allowed to be?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, let's have
Robert,
a free flowing
I agree with you
conversation,
that
and
it
then
had
maybe
a
at the end,
presence.
Gio, you give your take.
I wish that they took the sting off. There was a little pomposity to it. I wish it had some of that, like, Bo, you don't know diddly kind of kibitz to it.
Right, but I also think as a woman, I felt like, I don't know. I mean, I like the message, but I'm kind of tired of people telling me how I should feel. I'm done. Like, I'm over it. Like, I'm just over. It's all over social, like toxic. It's like toxic positivity, and I get it. Like these, and I praise these women. I am inspired by them. But Nike doesn't need to tell me. Nike doesn't need to tell. I felt like it's like a formula. They worked on their formula. That's all.
So I had that question, and I asked my wife, and she said to me, "This issue still exists." And so she felt like somebody had to say it, because I said, "Well, women's sports people speak up. They do what they do." And she said they're still getting checked for it differently than men are. So this is a real issue. And she's an athlete. She was a college athlete. And she goes, this is absolutely what needs to be said, because women are still, if they're too bold or they're going too hard or they're being too competitive, they're getting checked. And so she didn't take it as they were telling her what to do. They were showing the boldness and saying, we should continue on, be yourself as an athlete. Don't be afraid.
100%. I agree. I'm not saying it was a bad thing. I'm just saying that, like, I felt like it's Nike. Like, Nike always takes it up another notch, and I felt like they just did something very expected, and it was honorable. I'm not dissing it. Like, it was very honorable and it was very okay, but I just, I'm a woman. I've been dissed a lot,
I might actually,
I know how that feels. And so
I might actually put 3 spots in that same kind of category. Because I felt like the Dove spot, the fight back spot against cancer, and the Nike spot were all kind of singing from a hymn book that was a few years old. They were beautiful. They were wonderful. You can't fault the message. But I didn't feel any real impetus to look up from my computer and hear something new. That's why I was looking for a joke at the end of something, because I'm always looking for a joke. That's why I felt like they were almost tropes at some point.
George, I actually think you're spot on. I feel like a lot of people's briefs were showing, and I don't mean underwear. I mean your actual brief.
Yeah.
Right.
Whenever I'm on Zoom, I go Jeffrey Tobin. So apologies.
Yeah, totally. But I just think, like, the Super Bowls, it's changed so much, and I think given the political climate, I think a lot of brands are scared. I think a lot of people went with a very safe. That's why nostalgia, I think, rose up. I don't.
Progressivism.
Yeah, I mean, it should be like a day for, like, crazy creative opportunities. You're just like, holy shit, they did that kind of a thing. Whereas instead, I feel like there was a lot of really responsible marketing, which is not to say that doing a creative idea is not responsible marketing, but I do feel like there were, to me, I think there were just a lot of people that played it pretty safe in that. across the
Kate,
board.
Alex would yell at you right now.
You would. Yeah, and I'd say
You
bring it
would.
on, dude.
That
Let's
is
have
not-
let's have a
And I learned my lesson.
But-
I said safe to Alex once, and I got so chewed out that I get it. And he's right.
what a lot of people did is they played it safe and they spent $8 million.
No. The safe one. Didn't you ever hear Alex say this? The safe spot is the one that scares you a little bit
Yeah.
because it will
Because it
get
gets
talked
noticed.
about. The dangerous spot is the boring one.
Yes.
That is, it may be an easy sell up the ranks, but it's not. It's going to be a, colossal waste of money.
Well, I
Right.
think, Karen, not the bad kind, that's what I was feeling with the 3 spots I mentioned. Like there didn't seem to be a lot of pushing water uphill, getting the Nike spot sold or even the 5.
Yeah.
I mean, who's against curing cancer? Except for the Trump administration. But it didn't feel like they were breaking new ground, that they were defying a norm in a way that would have made it, to my mind, more important.
Yeah.
Right, like Sarah V did last year.
Yeah. I loved
their
Michael
spot.
Sarah. Was it
Oh
last year?
yeah,
Right,
yeah.
because not only that, they seeded it in advance. It was performative. It was like very performative. There was this whole experience before where he would like go into stores and sign his name, and then there was the spot, and then there was post.
Yeah.
So I think what my view is like a brand's like, don't just launch on Super Bowl. Create an experience beforehand. Create, like Dunkin' Donuts did a little bit of that because they showed their 60-second, but it was really part of a 7-minute film.
Yeah.
Let me
I
ask
don't
you-
like
All right,
that.
here, 1 second. Let's. I want to ask Cameron and Robert. What did you guys both think that there were 2 mustache Super Bowl ads?
I don't even want to play.
Cameron, why don't you give us your take? I know you were
I wanted to-
raising your hand patiently. Appreciate it.
I think Alana said something really, really smart, and I want to second that notion. I thought Uber Eats with McConaughey and Greta Gerwin was really interesting, but they seeded it before the game. They
Right.
gave you just enough of a taste of it to where you knew where it was going and you knew the plot. So when it hits the game, you could look away from your TV set for 2 seconds and not miss it, right?
Yeah.
There were so many things that I thought the spots were so packed with information because they were trying to tell the whole story that when I looked at the mischief spot with the case of Mondays, I thought they launched with a long form piece that I really liked, and they ran a 30 that made me go, wait a minute, that really didn't play. So maybe it's just my own naivete that's the way Super Bowl spots work now. They expect you to watch the 60 before the game. You see the 30, they only pay $8 million for it. But I really question if your 30's not great, don't run a Super Bowl spot.
Don't run a Super Bowl spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are the other
I
things?
remember in the early days of like Instagram, I was at RGA for a while, and everybody was doing, well, you stand in front of this statue, you snap a picture, you upload it to here, and then you run to this place and you do that. I mean, I'm old. I'm just not willing to do the frickin' work. I mean, I'm not going to watch a 60 so I can get a 30. And I understand a lot. I completely understand what you're saying. But it's a shitload of work we're asking of people. I mean,
I don't like revealing the spot beforehand. Maybe I'm alone in that, but
we don't. Yeah, but right. I don't think we need to reveal it necessarily.
Well,
that's not what I was saying. I just meant like there's
there has
a
to be
universe.
around.
There's a universe that's built, and actually, you're not asking a lot of the audience. You have to remember that like a lot of these are to get top of mind, or like let's say in advance there's already some PR that's built up in advance. All I'm saying is like it shouldn't be a lot of work. You should be enough buzz to get you to their Instagram page or their TikTok.
yeah. I
mentioned the 7-minute Dunkin' Donuts spot. I gotta tell you,
I miss the Terry Tate linebacker. I miss like being so surprised while I'm watching and not knowing exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And
right.
I guess I might be the simpleton out of this group, but I don't really love the political stuff and things that get too heavy or too much of a story. I just want to be entertained.
Too
I just
sappy,
want
too
to laugh.
sappy.
Well,
Let me ask Trip.
I don't want a girl spot telling me, like, I was an all-American swimmer. I get it. Athletes, yes, but just make me laugh. And quite honestly, the only spot out of all of them that made me laugh out loud was Mountain Dew. When that seal popped his head up, and the best part, and this is another thing that I think I totally agree. I don't know if it was Cam who just said this, but if you're not going to make your 30 your top priority, if that's what you're going to run in the Super Bowl, don't even bother. Because I was waiting, and I know this is like maybe a little dig at Goodby, I actually messaged Margaret Murphy, is that the chief creative officer? I messaged Johnson, that's right, Margaret Johnson, and messaged her and told her how great I thought the spot was. But then the 30 came around and they took out the best thing, which was the pause. The pause was genius. And,
quick insight real fast. So when you said Mountain Dew, I didn't remember their commercial until you said Seal. So that's all I'm going to say.
Well, Cam thought it was right. So
I just can't believe that Seal signed off on it. Like, I was like, how did they get Seal to sign off on that?
I mixed up. I keep mixing up seals and sloths and belugas.
Right.
I know it's
one
not.
One of the things I was going to say is that
Terry Tate, but my God, it was the only one that entertained me enough. Was that minute long? And I was singing, so I watched it. I was interviewed for some article from Ad Age, so I watched all the ones that were available last week, and it's now I've just completely forgotten what I was going to say, but
you were saying you watched all the ads for
I
an
watched
interview.
all the ads. I was disappointed in the lack of humor. I think a lot of brands are thinking, oh, well, if we spend all this money and stick, famous people in it, that's going to be enough. That's not enough.
I had that
have
same
to
feeling.
ground it in a fun concept. And this is what I was going to say. So I watched the Mountain Dew spot, and it was really smart for them to put the words on. I was singing the Mountain Dew version of that song all weekend in my head. It drove me crazy and I kind of hated it, but it's in my head. It's the only ad
that worked, and that's successful because I feel like none of them created an earworm except maybe a little bit the Bosch and the refrigerator. But like, remember from 1999, the What's Up, the Budweiser, it wasn't like the best commercial, but I feel like the whole year people were saying, "What's up?"
Yeah, there's no
What's
long-lasting.
like the entire year. Trip, you keep trying to.
Well,
say
no, I was
something.
just going to say that what's interesting to me is that the Super Bowl has devolved into this formula of, and I on some level I blame BBDO, but it's what cameos, what celebrities, plus famous music, plus some sort of outrageous animation can we throw into this, and it's devolved into, well, if we cram more celebrities, more music and all that kind of, that the idea, it's devoid of the idea. It's devoid, and so the humor gets completely muted and softened because there's no real idea behind it.
Right.
There's also no zagging, because I'm thinking of the Richards Group spot, the black and white, God Loves a Farmer.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Everything was exactly the same level of decibels.
Yes.
Cacophony, as the Trinity you just pointed out, Trip, celebrities, popular music, riff, and animation. It seemed like everybody had a pie chart of those things, and then maybe the thinnest slice with concept or social activism.
Yeah.
But there
Well,
was
there's so much pressure. There's so much pressure on
Yes.
creatives when they say, okay, we're doing a Super Bowl spot. There's so much pressure to, I don't know, live up to
Yeah.
everything
Make it
that's gone
epic.
before.
But it's
and I
funny,
think
nobody.
people choke. I mean, I think you.
But
so.
in a business where
But
we're
I also think that the NFL has these standards, right? So like I've worked on a couple, and one of them like got totally blackballed. So because I do like, I know we're all judging and that's the point of this call, but I do agree with you, Trip. Like I think we should also give like an homage and a celebration to the creatives that did it's really hard work.
I'm not buying that.
You know,
I mean, that's our freaking job. And I mean,
I wasn't giving an
I
homage.
know,
I was
I
saying
just-
they were locking up.
I mean, I think our
Trying too
job
hard.
is to break rules.
Yes.
And what Trip is talking about, and I wholeheartedly agree with. I mean,
Mhm.
my rule is to
Formulaic.
go along with Trip. But you know, to get attention, you break rules. I mean, it's Karen. I think what you were talking about when you're talking about with reverence, Alex saying safety and failure is about doing something, or Terry Tate as an example, or the Man Your Man Could Smell Like. Those were all things, or even the spots we started with, what I had grouped together as the Nike spot, the Dove spot, and the cancer spot. They seemed like a formula homage to a cause.
Mhm.
And in a way, I mean, I wasn't thinking about this coming in. We could have the body hair spots. We could have the talking animal spots, and unfortunately, they were all kind of too well. I'm not saying anyone grouped or anyone was ripping anyone off. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying we all know this. We have a toolkit.
Yeah.
And-
All right. So I want to move on to another category, which is I feel like we need to talk some beer right now.
Oh.
So I feel like AB made a big showing. They had a lot of interesting stuff. As a diehard person that plays pickleball every single morning at 8 a.m., I really enjoyed the pickleball Michelob Ultra. I also love that it was for their non-alc because I thought, that's a big move to promote a non-alc during the big game. Yeah. But it also really, I think, drew on an insight for me. I went and played pickleball for 2.5 hours this morning, and I didn't win a single game, and I got my ass handed to me by senior citizens for most of the morning. Yeah. And the truth is, 50s is the new 40s, 60s is the new 50s. I mean, like the athleticism that pickleball allows everybody to kind of democratize and play together, and how fast it's growing. I thought it was a great insight. And I love that they did it for the non-alc brand. Anybody else want to comment on any of the beer ads?
I would bring one thing up. Sorry, Cam. I'll make it quick. I think this is to me. I looked at, for example, I think it ranked really high because it has that emotion, which is the horse pushing the keg. And I think, to your point, Karen, there's a lot of spots that when pre-released were 60s and 2 minutes and 3 minutes. The Lay's spot with the potato, the 3-minute version of that is absolutely delightful.
Delightful. And then the Super Bowl, it's like, wow.
It's nothing. It's the 30 is like, what are you guys talking about here? And it was the same thing to me with the horse. It was like wonderful as a 60, but as a 30, it was, I just
know,
thought, wow. And I think that there's a challenge, and George, you've touched on this, is like, I think a lot of creators are like, well, if I can just sell the idea, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And that's just no way to attack this assignment.
But I'm surprised that brands are buying it. If you have been in the Super Bowl before, every single year better be better than the last year. And that's not what's happening. No. You look at some of the early Budweiser spots, and my God, you'd be in tears. you'd be so emotional about him. The dog, I mean, and now it's just like, it's nice if you're comparing it to the other stuff that ran this year.
But you've seen the joke.
Pardon me?
You've seen the joke.
Yeah, but it's, you've already seen it. Yeah, it's
That's
not.
what I-
They're also
that's what I mean.
created for the medium. I mean, those back in the past were created for the 30. They were created for the 60.
Yeah.
And now they create the 7-minute version or the 3-minute version. Whereas, I mean, certainly there was a time if you did a 30, you're sitting in the edit bay saying, hey, maybe we can stretch this to a 60.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
and then your creative director would come in and say, it would actually make an awesome 45. So let's not
Yeah.
even worry about the 60 and concentrate on making the 30
Yeah.
great. And so now you've got this extension. And Reed, I think you make a great point. The flip side of that, look at the Jeep spot with Harrison Ford. That thing
I was going to come to that one next.
Shouldn't have been more than 30.
It was interminable.
Oh my gosh.
It went on and on and on.
That went on, and that was just crazy.
Yeah.
Well, there were a lot. Is it me or were there a lot of 60s on the game this?
Yeah, there were a lot.
They were.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of 30s that felt like 60s.
Yeah.
If you can't, but if
I
you
wanna-
can't afford the 60, maybe don't put all those celebrities in there, and then
Right.
you can afford the 60 and tell us a story.
But
You
the
know,
thing about the 30 is, and I'm going to drop names. I remember talking to Pitka, claiming that he was more important than like Ridley Scott because more people saw his work. Because when he did a 30, 100 million people could see
Yeah.
it. And like you kind of have to focus on, and I don't know what the mathematics is, but I'm sure it's a little bit like watching something on YouTube that 92% watch the first 4 seconds and 8% watch the next 4 minutes. And I got to believe that the reach of the 30 is where you spend your money.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
the 30 isn't great.
All right, so let's pull out our Effie's judging criteria. What ad is going to drive the most amount of impact for the client?
I'll take that one.
I think
The best business selling idea was Mondays. Case in point.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, they invented a whole new occasion,
Yeah.
and
And
they
it's
got
funny.
they got the brand to to not just say go buy a case of Coors Light, but they're actually packaging. They changed the packaging. They've a really
well, they
smart
had
idea.
to. They had to because they had that typo.
Yeah, but
Like,
that was planned.
That was
That
intended.
was, so that's how they.
Planned.
But I don't agree. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I felt like
I actually think the worst commercial on the show last night might have been the most business impactful, which is if Pepsi actually brings back the Pepsi Challenge, they might not be losing 1.5 share every year.
I want to
mean,
say
I didn't like the
Kate-
commercial, and I thought the
yeah.
homage to the 80s commercial was better than the contemporary footage. But the idea of sticking a thumb in the eye of the people eating your lunch, I mean, that's what I always believed advertising should do if you're an underdog.
So speaking of sticking a thumb in the eye,
It worked for Apple, George. It worked for Apple.
Okay, I've heard of that brand. They used to make peripherals, right?
So speaking of sticking a thumb in the eye, does anybody else find it hilarious that Matt Damon and Ben Affleck can use the Super Bowl to like poke personal fun at each other? Like it seems like the ultimate bromance there of like, okay, they're going to use their Super Bowl spots to like make fun of each other and like have a a guy's moment. Is that funny to anybody else with me, or do you think that's just like it's been happening for a few
What's funny
cycles
is
now?
when you both get paid $3 million to do it.
Right.
I think-
I love it.
I
love
agree
it.
to disagree with anybody on this panel if you pay me enough money. I've got all night.
I'm in.
Let's go.
Well, actually, going to the Dunkin' spot, which I didn't love, the part of it I loved was the faux Starbucks guy talking about hints of coriander.
Yes.
And the half hour to get it's beans and water. And at least to me, and maybe I used to work on Dunkin' back when they had Fred the Baker, but to me, they were establishing their bona fides. They're blue collar,
Yeah.
Yep.
gritty, kind of archetypical not quite as the Sam Adams Boston, but they're pretty close to your cousin from Boston. And
I think a lot of people are going to walk into Dunkin's today. I think tomorrow or whatever. I think there are going to be a lot of new people.
The jabs that they made at Starbucks, I hate Starbucks, but the jabs that they made at Starbucks, I thought rang true to me. Maybe
do you think it was at all kicking while your opponent's down? I mean, Starbucks has been in the news and has just had a belly full of it recently. I don't know. Felt like a little
really
bit punching
sorry
down.
For Eric Schmidt. I feel sorry for him. I mean, his net worth might be down $100 million. I feel really. I mean, you know what? Maybe we can do a Kickstarter after this.
Speaking of helping people out, did anybody track the Bill Murray piece during halftime? Did anybody else see that?
No.
I saw it, but I didn't track it.
I saw some. There were some activations on Instagram, Dude with a Sign, and some others. But it was, man, you talk about a blind idea. All they did was just throw a new email address for Bill Murray out there and saying that he could use a chat with somebody. I don't know if it was.
What brand was it for?
I think that was Yahoo, right?
Oh,
yeah, Yahoo.
That's so random.
Yeah, it was really, really random. There were a few. I thought there were a few spots that kind of, by the end of it, were sort of like, what? Why? One of them with the WeatherTech.
Oh, with the grandmas.
Don't even get
which
me
I
started
thought
on
was
WeatherTech.
a fun spot right up until it said WeatherTech.
And I was like, what the hell is WeatherTech? It just didn't connect. It didn't
connect, but it was
Honestly.
fun. It was well done, and I was like, man, I hope this goes to a great place. And then it's floor mats.
WeatherTech is the reason why I started Geezer.
I mean, my initial reaction was very ageist. I mean, the casting.
It was so. I don't even get me started. I love WeatherTech. I have WeatherTech. I'm a customer of WeatherTech. Love the brand, but it's just, and it's not, I'm actually more offended that I just didn't like the spot than it being ageist or anything else. Like I'm more offended that it didn't make me laugh, but it leans, it's the, if you're gonna have, like in Reese's teaser, right? They had the old woman on the scooter.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's a fine line sometimes between doing something that could be potentially offensive to someone and not, right? And thinking about it a little bit more, the woman on the scooter going up the screaming lava, she was a badass on that scooter, and it made me laugh. But those women in the car, the bad wigs and leaning into the stereotypes, and then the young guys, like, giving the nasty look to them, like they were grossed out by these women. And it's just like, can't we do this better? If you're going to put people, then it's like, then you want Eugene Levy or somebody like that. Like that's the appropriate way to put somebody older in your spot. But yeah, the WeatherTech.
The Shit Creek crew was having a moment.
There was one thing Kate said a while ago that I wanted to come back to. She said that it felt like they were, I don't know, Kate, you said they were like answering the briefs, or you felt like the brief was in the room.
Said their brief was showing, but not.
I really felt that. I really felt that in a few of them. And I wanted to ask, is that maybe because, like sometimes like they're too account driven, like the Athletic beer. So one of my clients is a non-alc beer and they're our competitor. But I felt like I knew exactly what the brief was. You probably don't remember the Athletic beer, that commercial, because it's like I hate to say it, but it was very forgettable. But like the brief to me said, everybody knows this non-alcoholic beer, but they don't remember the name. And then in the commercial, they didn't like say the name enough. So I guess maybe my question is like, do you feel like sometimes maybe that the chances that aren't being taken, the envelope's not being pushed because maybe it's not the creative's fault necessarily, but more of like the account teams and the CMO and the people that aren't willing to, really take those
The
chances.
box is too tight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of times you end up in some of these situations where there's never one person. Work doesn't get bad because of one person. Work gets
Yeah.
bad because of a whole bunch of sausage making.
Yeah.
And you get all the different layers, and everyone's got a point of view. And someone at the very top of this call, I feel like it was maybe George or Tripp might have said, it's the creative job to like take the fucking shot. Sorry, we just swore, but like to take the shot.
Hey, it's all
And
good.
then it just becomes, don't settle for anything other than that. Like, what is the Super
Fight
Bowl about?
for
Is
it.
mass
okay to fight for it.
awareness. And it's not, I think it's become, I really do feel like it's become a marketing plan.
But the
Yeah.
other
It's become
thing-
one part, which is,
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
And I think
All right.
we're-
I have a quick question. So, what was your favorite crypto Super Bowl ad? Oh, wait, never mind. Okay. What was your?
The brief was showing.
Yeah.
I thought the million toilet paper spot was wonderful.
I like the countdown clock. That was fun, and then also quick disclaimer: Fetch is a client of the current agency, but they were the only one to use a QR code, and I liked that they used it because they were going to give away like insane amounts of money in the next 60 seconds, which is a strong call to action, right?
Yeah.
So that could be at the top of my list for best business builder, just because there's a real strong call to action. Please mind my client bias, but anybody want to take a crack at like what was the best mission-based spot? I really love the Boys and Girls Club one. Was pretty cool.
I thought, I'm not religious, right?
Mhm.
Raised by an
Jesus.
agnostic and an atheist.
Yep.
That Johnny Cash spot for He Gets Us.
Yes.
Yeah.
was like, holy crap.
They do a really good job.
They
They
did a
do.
great job.
Well, all I gotta
oh
say,
Jesus,
the
they are
Almighty
doing a
is-
good job.
the Almighty is a good client.
Let's
Yeah.
go. Let's go.
Great. That was a great spot. And it's interesting because that spot is not showing up in any, or at least the ones that I saw, any of the rankings. You know how USA Today, like they left that one off completely. And I'm not religious. And I'm like, damn, that Johnny Cash song is so
Yeah.
perfect.
I
Yeah.
will say, so
Good
those
point.
spots are done.
I
so
have
right
to
down the
say,
road.
as a Jew, the Moses
Close
people
your
have
door,
blocked
yeah.
it. I mean, we just tanked it. We all got together. We control everything.
This voting is a
We
block.
sent it to the bottom.
Nice.
Hey,
So Trip.
No, but I
We
did
work
like
down
the hate
work down the
campaign was
street.
good. The hate campaign with with
Snoop and
Snoop.
Brady.
Yeah, that was cool.
and that I'm a Jew, so that was like really important for me to see those two people on, speaking out against hate. So I thought that was really important.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
do
love
think
that.
setting
Good trip.
setting
Gotcha.
aside the politics of it, the He Gets Us work that was done last year and even this year is really just creative executions, really well done.
Yeah.
And
I think it's more than execution.
I
think
totally
the,
agree.
the politics behind it and who funds it and all that stuff. I mean, I know that clouds a lot of what's going on, but as messages is very clear, clean, powerful messages. It's really good work.
Did
Really
I
work.
also see that on the He Gets Us? I feel like they paid a homage to Hurricane Katrina iconography. Was I correct in noticing that some of the photos were kind of harkening back to Hurricane Katrina and really like trying to be contextually relevant to the city of New Orleans?
Hey,
don't
Dylan. One
Yeah,
of the things
go
I
ahead.
want to acknowledge is Tripp said something yesterday that really resonated with me. He
Mhm.
said he's going to go into this conversation without looking at all the polls, and I feel the same way. I really don't care what polls say because you can find any poll that's going to justify your client that their spend was.
Yep.
Totally.
Well,
Good point.
Ad Age
Good
did
point.
something among Gen Zs, and if you read it, not even closely, they talked to 20 people.
No, it was 12.
That's not a
Actually,
poll.
George,
Was it 12?
George, I think it was 12. And I was like,
I knew
what
they
the
looked
fuck
at
is
20
this? Like, why is
commercials
this
and 12
news?
people or 12 people and 20 commercials. But
Yeah.
it was slightly less random than this conversation.
Yeah, it
Slightly.
sounds like American polling at its finest.
Yeah,
I just think the point is, just have an opinion, stick to your goddamn opinion. Be afraid of mediocre. Don't be afraid of that your client's going to kill it because it's. I mean, we just have to get back in touch with this idea that it's our fucking jobs to not do mediocre.
Yeah.
And to make life miserable for anybody who tries to make it mediocre, whether it's a client or an account person or a planner, I don't care.
Right.
Because
And
you
I
get-
gotta believe-
Cam, you know as well as I that and Alona, you alluded to this, which I think is interesting, is that there's this pressure to push boundaries, push all this stuff. But I think the question is, are we pushing in the right direction? Because I think what appears, what we think is great work and what pushes isn't, superficial. It isn't, oh, we've got this controversial star. It is rooted in an idea that pushes a narrative.
I mean,
as
I think
opposed
that's
to
Trip,
something
do you remember?
Go.
I'm sure you do remember this because it's one of the best spots of, at least in my opinion, of all time. But Volkswagen's The Force spot.
Oh yeah,
It
the
was
Darth
such
Vader
a
one.
simple, beautiful, and it wasn't laugh out loud funny, but damn, it was charming. Like
It was
that
rooted
little
in the
kid
truth.
nailed.
What was the spot?
So you gotta-
Volkswagen
I'll
with Darth
send-
Vader, where they used the
Yeah.
Force to unlock the car.
Yeah.
The little boy in
Oh,
the
right,
around his
right.
parents click it, but you're right. But Trip's right though. It's rooted in an idea.
Yeah.
It's
It wasn't a
rooted in the
gimmick. It
idea.
wasn't a celebrity for a celebrity's sake. It
Yeah.
wasn't like, oh, what's happening with TikTok right now? We should do a bunch of
I know.
UGC
It's not a
videos
trend.
of a
It's
bunch of
not a
consumers
trend.
in our drive-through.
But
Yeah,
I
That's
it's
not an idea.
based on a trend. It's based on an insight
I
that
think what might
parents
be
can relate
happening
to.
to Tripp's point, if I may, is the commercial scene in a sense. I mean, if you start with Birnbeck, since we just talked about Volkswagen, and you take his phrase, simple, timeless human truth, and simple, timeless human truths have been overwhelmed in all of America by spectacle.
Yeah.
And I think, from our political discourse to what we saw last night, that's what throws me, actually, that I think there's a disconnect between what we in the industry, how we in the industry portray the viewer and how the viewer really there's no pain in any commercials. A lot of Americans are suffering. I know the Jesus,
Yeah.
but you hear, and I know this is escape for people. So I'm not suggesting that we be dour.
Let me ask a quick question. Anybody know what the ratings were like? Were they up or down from last year?
They
were the
said it was
highest
the
second half.
biggest night ever.
The only reason I
Wow.
watched the whole game is because I had to watch the commercials.
Yep.
I wouldn't have sat through the second half of that. And if I
I
was an
know.
advertiser, I'd be looking for a refund on my spend.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
All
I
right,
think
and
the-
then
the
I
ratings
think
went down pretty steadily as the Eagles dominated.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
most
no, I could
people-
imagine that there was probably quite a bit of drop off, but
It was a
you know,
42% rating, which was higher than last year's 40%. So
wow.
it was up 2 points out of 40. So it was up 5% from last year.
All right. Kendrick Lamar, opinions. I thought he killed
Yes.
it. It was an awesome performance.
He killed
Anybody
it.
else?
I mean, he's a genius. He's like the voice of our time. I think he killed it. And I think what made Dunkin's commercial really good was Kendrick's whole performance was like a Drake diss. And then so like Dunkin did like the whole Starbucks diss. So I don't know. There was like on multiple levels. That's why Dunkin's worked. But I think Kendrick Lamar is a genius, and I feel like the whole show, I mean, from Serena Williams, cameos,
Samuel
Samuel
Jackson,
Jackson.
yeah.
I thought it was
Right. I'll be the first to admit that I'm much older than the Kendrick Lamar demographic, and I was watching that and I was just riveted. It was so interesting. I was
You
riveted
were
to the
what?
screen because I thought, even though I didn't know the words, I couldn't listen. I mean, it was tough for me to hear because I'm probably just ancient, but visually, visually watching that and the beat that went through it and the storytelling that was going on, and then Sam Jackson popping in, I really enjoyed the show.
That's why Kendrick's didn't he win the like a major prize, like the literary
Pulitzer
prize, the
Pulitzer Prize.
he won a Pulitzer. He is
Yeah.
so brilliant.
How did he
is
get that many
brilliant.
people in an 84 Regal? That's my question.
Sleight of hand. You know, I also I felt like it was very patriotic too. You know, they did it like whether it was Sam Jackson as Uncle Sam or just the red, white, and blue motifs. Like it was, you know, there's maybe some subtext to that.
Well,
but-
it was a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
He was
It was laced with sarcasm.
it wasn't
visually, I suppose,
Right.
very patriotic.
right. Well, that's right. It was relevant in terms of like the moment because we're watching the Super Bowl USA, and so it was. He did a great job
Yeah.
in storytelling.
I love it.
Absolutely.
I love it. All right.
Hey,
let's
Dylan,
see.
can I?
Yeah,
can I
let's go
bring up
ahead.
one-
Yeah, please go ahead.
When you asked about beer before,
Mm-hmm.
I thought that Bud Light had a campaignable premise that was interesting. I thought that Coors Light had a campaignable premise that was interesting. But I thought Stella Artois did the best beer spot of the night. The biological twin as a gag with his parents breaking it to him and then him going on a pilgrimage to find his brother and have it be Matt Damon.
It was funny. It was
It
funny.
was, and you know what? By the time in that game, I needed to have something interesting happen because it wasn't happening on the field.
Yeah,
I was breaking
no,
the
that's
spell
great.
at that moment. Which
I
was
also
weird.
think the spots that ran in the second half, it's very easy to short shrift them because we weren't very engaged with that game.
Yeah, you have ad fatigue by the second half.
Cam, what about the other beer commercial, the one for Liquid Death?
Hated it.
That was funny. That was really
Okay.
funny. I thought that was great. That was they always bring it.
You know,
I
Alona,
think.
it's funny because when you said that your favorite was Bosch and Duncan, I thought, oh, I hated both of those. And then you said Pfizer, and I go, I want to give her a hug because I loved the Pfizer spot.
Yeah.
So go figure.
Well, we a great discussion is us like seeing different points of view, right? Like that's otherwise this would be a really boring
Agreed.
1 hour, right? So I hope no one's offended by all my,
No,
you
but
know,
Well,
I
speaking
I
of
love it.
offended, so here's one we haven't talked about.
Yeah, go Reed.
I think it was Novartis, but I would call it the boob spot.
Yeah. I was gonna bring that one up.
That
Yes.
was, I think, to me, that was the one that kind of grabbed the room the most because the dudes were like, "I'm not,
they're like boobs.
you know, I shouldn't be." I guess,
Look, is this a Carl's Jr. commercial?
but even
That's
You're
what
right.
it is, when it's, you know,
like when they came out and said, "There's only one thing these don't get enough attention about," and it's getting screened. My wife clapped. She's like, "This is great. This was fantastic."
No, I thought it was really smart and using it I feel like our country's like repressed. Like if you look at advertising in like Europe, it's much more sensual. So I felt like, I mean, I didn't know what it was for at first, but I was like,
Where is this going?
all right, let's
how are they going to
go,
get out
you
of
know?
this? Because
Yeah.
Yeah.
this is 25 seconds of nothing but boobs.
yeah. I
Well,
thought
isn't-
that at the end, it kind of just went.
Yeah, but and
It was
isn't
the end that sold it for me.
isn't
I mean,
that,
not because it wasn't showing boobs anymore. It was
Isn't-
the end of it. I felt like the turn was underplayed. I felt like the turn needed more punch than
I think they did it in a couple of supers. I think they could have done it in one, and I think they could have turned it a lot quicker.
yeah, and isn't that an
And they had Wanda to
Oh,
do
yeah.
it. Like she's so like they could have made her. She's like one of my favorite.
She
She's
is
really
funny.
funny. She could have done
It was
something.
great
to
on
turn it.
her.
Yeah.
I just didn't think she was great that way last night.
Right. I agree.
Isn't that
I
a
agree.
normal campaign? Try and make a Super Bowl ad that's too hot for TV that then gets rejected, and then you don't have to pay the $8 million, and you can say your ad got banned by the Super Bowl. Did we hear any examples of that where, you know, some company tried to guerrilla? Well, actually, that leads me on to a better conversation. What was the best campaign that wasn't in the game?
I'm not
Like
sure.
What do you mean?
like a
Like-
guerrilla
like-
marketing campaign, like somebody that was trying to, you know, do
Oh,
something.
right,
Yeah,
those
like
trying
Pep,
to-
like you guys gave the example of the Pepsi challenge, right? Like that's the last one that I can remember that was really impactful.
Well,
where they're
the
like, oh, we're
best-
not gonna.
To me,
I
the
like
watermark on that is the Newcastle work that Droga did.
Oh,
That was brilliant. Brilliant. They just
I
totally
was-
stole the game.
was I the only one who absolutely loved? I think it was Rocket Mortgage.
No, I was
You
looking
hear?
it up.
Was it Rocket Mortgage? You
Oh,
hear
right,
the
they'd have the
Oh, John
song. They
Denver,
had
and
the
then it
song.
played.
Look, when they
Yes.
when they returned to the game, they were playing
Yes.
that piece of music to the
And
whole
everyone
stadium.
was saying the
And
whole
I-
stadium.
That was brilliant.
I thought that was
That was good.
Was that a pay? Was that
It
a
had to
pay
have
to
been.
play?
That was
It had to have
brilliant.
been.
There was an article. There was an article.
Timed.
about it.
God,
It was-
to organize how to time that.
They announced it in the stadium.
Yeah, but
they're
that was really
they
smart.
announced in the
I
stadium that
agree.
they're playing this spot and that they want everybody to start singing. So when they cut back, and then they had the announcer guy say, you know, this moment of togetherness by Rocket Mortgage or something. I mean, there was some.
It was brilliant,
Yeah.
nonetheless. It was,
I really
it was
dislike that
smart.
song.
Aaron,
I felt
thank
like-
you for bringing that up because I think that exactly answered Dylan's ask.
Yeah, totally. I mean, look, you know,
I admire the synchronicity that happened, but the whole time I'm watching that spot, I'm thinking it's for West Virginia or it's
I
for,
know. I thought so too.
and then
I wasn't. Yeah, I wasn't
Yeah, the
crazy
spot-
about the.
Well, you know what
spot
threw
either.
me is that they showed mountains and they were the Rocky Mountains.
I know.
yeah, and compared to last year, I think was Rocket Mortgage with Barbie. You know, the Barbie work
Right.
partnership that they did
Yeah.
with the Barbie Dream House, and then prior to that was
Jason Momoa.
Jason Momoa, Keenan Peele. I blame it because Casey moved on to MGM. So, but
I thought it
we'll
was
see.
a moving.
No, but I feel like parody, like with something like a service industry, like I think their insurance or some, I think Rocket's like insurance. I think you really need to dig deep into your brand
mortgage.
character, and
Home mortgages.
so
what it
Yeah,
is.
that's Rocket's basically fintech, but yeah, they're supposed to be on-demand mortgages, or you know, easy to direct to consumer tee up a mortgage. But hey, look, that's a good point, right? Like you don't know who they are. You've heard their name. That's a problem.
it felt very like Wells Fargo, like that. You know what I mean? It felt very
Yeah.
servicey.
quick
I don't
question
know.
for the room as far as simple spot. What do you guys think of Doritos?
Mm.
It was very simple.
Was it?
Until the UFO exploded.
I don't know.
The what?
Well, I like they did a contest. I think that
Yeah,
was
that
a
was a
contest
winner.
winner.
And
Oh, interesting. That spot was crowdsourced.
yeah, that was the
It was.
crash the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But an agency produced
Oh,
it. Yeah.
okay.
Well,
so they
No, I think no, they-
crowdsourced the.
They
The
hired-
guys that
they
won
hired-
the contest
Yeah.
one was a shooter and one was a. I mean,
And they got
had
paid $1
for
million
production company cred.
to make it. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, I didn't realize all the behind the scenes, but that makes it a lot more interesting and participatory. But
Mhm.
you know, I think being of the industry, I probably should have known that before now. So
But wasn't that of the old premise of aliens coming down to get something? I mean,
mm,
there's
Yeah.
only 99 commercials a year where the aliens
yeah.
come down.
Well, there's I mean,
Pacino's pizza roll.
You've been to this abduction.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to say, anything that shows people kind of at the mercy of a craving, I definitely, something about that rubs me the wrong way, whether it's Budweiser or nachos, or when I was young, it was cigarettes,
Mhm.
of course, like the last one. And I felt it was a little like, it was a stupid human
No,
trick.
but I think,
Like if you love a Dorito that much,
I think Robert makes a great point, though. It is kind of like, hey, let's have aliens come down and want the product. You know, it's kind of such an overused thing.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I thought
So
was
I have,
interesting is that there were two spots with flying hair, like with like mustaches and
Yeah, two flying mustaches spots.
And both
That's
were edible objects.
that's a great. I
Yeah.
think that's a great example
Yeah.
of the idea that there are no original ideas, just people who can get them out the fastest. And the fact that there were two Super Bowl spots with flying mustaches, that is wild.
well, one was
I-
eyebrows, to be clear,
That's true.
because next year I have
Flying
an
facial
inside
hair, excuse me.
story. Next year they're doing ear hair. There's going to be a whole,
That's so
whole
funny.
third quarter is devoted to ear hair.
Just a small trivia thing before we go. 'cause
Yeah.
It's almost 9, but the most watched Super Bowl commercial of all time was Doritos Ninja ad, which where they threw the Dorito and it like
Chinese star.
they're in a gym. They were in a gym and they like threw the like a star,
With a
like a
martial
ninja
arts
star.
star.
Yeah.
That's
Anyway,
interesting.
but anyway, I thought it was like a really smart, simple, unforgettable ad. I think it was like from a couple
so I
years
think we
ago.
should go around
I have
Dylan.
to say about the flying hair, though. I mean, there was a time when, just from an appetite appeal point of view, you just would not have gone like dropping a fake eyelash in a can of beer or something. You just wouldn't have gone there. It's
Yeah.
gross. And when I saw the Pringles thing, I didn't know what to expect. I have a propensity against certain agencies, and I knew who it was from.
There, you said the quiet part
I
out
was-
loud.
Yeah, I did. I always do. You know me. But I saw that and I go, well, that's disgusting. And then I saw the Eugene Levy spot and I go, oh, you
Yeah.
took it. You.
What about the tongue
It-
spot
it's-
for Coffee Mate?
Oh God.
Oh my
Ooh.
gosh, that
I
was
forgot
good.
about
That was
I was
good.
watching. I was
Yeah.
watching it alone, and I was.
My kids died on that
Like,
one. My
yeah, I
kids
can't
died.
even.
I think so. So Pringles had a great.
I think you needed to be really stoned watching. Like, I mean, I thought that was like I thought it was like I can see how that could be like very culturally relevant, but like I feel like that's like definitely
culture?
like you need to be stoned.
It
gonna
seemed,
win
it
an
seemed
Oscar.
like all the social media executives are going down to Colombia and taking ayahuasca, like that was an homage to that or something.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
Alona did allude to the fact that we are coming up on the hour. So
Can I
any
ask for a
vol-
quick speed round, Dylan? A quick speed round.
yeah.
So,
What's the topic?
Well, you guys talked about Nike, which was one of my top spots, but the other one that I just think is a tour de force because it's such a great idea is the Uber Eats Matthew McConaughey spot. I just loved that spot. I thought it was fantastic. I love that
It
they're
was
not
really
trying to
entertaining.
they're not trying to get you to buy something. They're trying to get you to buy into something, which is so
And-
silly.
Reed, when you guys sent the list and you said the best business building idea, I thought, isn't it interesting that Uber was a rideshare service, and now they're food and product delivery.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
to me, that not only a great ad, but they've shifted their business and pivoted it. And I don't even think about DoorDash now for food. I think about
Well,
Uber.
Yeah, and then how much did Instacart get from all their partners featuring them in their Super Bowl ad? Was that a good way to kind of crowdsource a Super Bowl ad?
That was
Well,
I
you
thought
said
that was a
with
cluster.
royalties.
I didn't even remember.
Yeah, but they probably didn't pay for any of it though. To Dylan's point,
Yeah,
they probably did crowdsource the entire budget because they had so many brands shoved into the 30 seconds.
Well, Uber
Yeah,
Eats-
and Instacart probably packaged it in like some kind of special media buy where you buy a bunch of inventory for them and you get to be in
Well,
the Super Bowl
I
ad with
think
them, right?
if you're familiar with SAG-AFTRA, I guarantee it wasn't cheap to do what they did, because you have to go back and pay all those
Yeah.
people.
I just
Yep.
think that brands
Right.
have a responsibility. Like if you're going to be spending a small GDP of a country on a Super Bowl ad, like it better be effective or useful or entertaining. I feel like that's a responsibility or meaningful or game changing somehow. And I felt like Instacart, and I love Todd Kaplan from Heinz. Like, so I feel bad saying this, but like, I just, those kinds of spots are really frustrating. They make me a little bit angry because, you know,
I wish Uber did a co-op with the Lay's people and called it Tuber.
So my point, Dylan, was if we could do a speed round, if everybody could get just a minute to talk about their favorite, like makes me jealous spot, if there was one. And for me,
let's use that to take us home, and then I want to give it, and then at the end of your minute, actually after that, I want everybody to give a plug on where people can connect. So let's go for it. So I'll kick it off. I mean, you know, I already talked about, you know, for me, it was the pickleball, Michelob Ultra, for a few reasons. You know, one, I just said I'm a huge booster for the sport. I love the equalization of sports that it kind of created amongst the generations and genders, and the fact that it's something that everybody can do together. And as a abstainer from the sauce for over 10 years, having non-alc finally make it into the Super Bowl was a big deal for me, because for a long time, the only thing to drink was O'Doul's, and we live in a paradise of non-alcoholic beverages these days. So that'll be mine. And let's, Gio, you want to go next?
Yeah, you know what? Maybe it wasn't on the game. I saw it on the rankings, but I kind of like the first 45 seconds of the ChatGPT spot.
Yep.
With the black dots. And as someone
very
who
IBM.
I spent the last 25 I spent the last 25 years, you know, in technology. I thought the positioning for chat as kind of a non-threatening evolutionary revolution was smart. I liked the animation more when it was simple than when it got complicated, and that was my downfall of it. And it's probably something I would have liked to have worked on.
George, you would have landed the plane.
Yeah, maybe. Well, AI lands most planes now. So
the ones that make it to the airport.
Rewrite it a little bit, George.
Yeah, I have always. No, but that's where I thought that had the potential for magnitude of. I mean, because a lot of what we've talked about is the magnitude of the message, not necessarily the magnitude of the production values of the celebrities or the special effects. It's like, what are we saying that's important? Like, I felt God Made a Farmer had that sense. Some of the earlier Nike things had that moment in time sense. And I thought ChatGPT had the potential for a country that puts men, you know, on Mars, not the country that doesn't have a power.
George, I honestly felt like it was you're watching a great movie and then the end just sucks.
Yeah, like there's hair all over the film.
Lost the ending.
You're here.
I just kept waiting for the idea going, come on. Just
I thought it was beautiful. I thought it was beautiful, but because George, I worked at IBM for a couple of years, and it really,
I remember, yeah.
I mean, I felt like the inspiration was The Boy and His Atom. There's this film, but I felt like ChatGPT has revolutionized the way we work and who we are as humans in so many ways. I felt like there were so many ways to capture it. I think it was it was design driven, it was beautiful, but I don't think it captured how ChatGPT is revolutionizing our world in the same way that Pfizer was like explaining how they're going to cure cancer. I felt like ChatGPT could have really owned automation instead of technology. Like that, I don't know.
Alana, you want to go next?
Sure. I'm going to stick to Bosch. I mean, I know not a lot of people are talking about it, but I loved it. I thought it was weird. I think weird is good. It was memorable. Music is really important to me. I felt like they had a great sonic strategy. Like at the end, they cut it, like they do a cold cut at the end and they go Bosch. I felt like they explained what this company does that I know I've seen around in my world before, but I didn't really understand. I don't really know. There was not a lot of brand recognition, but now I know that Bosch makes refrigerators, and I think they're a cool company. And if I'm going to buy a refrigerator, I'm going to research them first. So, and I love the weird casting of Antonio Banderas and that weird homage to a wrestler who's not alive anymore. And so they cast,
Macho Man.
and it was just weird. And I feel like most of all, it's a repeatable format. So it's scalable. So they can pair it, they can create like, they can do it a million times with a million different characters, a million different products, and a million different scenes. And that's what I think makes it really successful.
I love it. Trip, you want to go next?
Yeah, I think for me, the Stella spot really stood out for me. I thought it was a pretty simple premise, done well, executed well. It made use of the celebrities in a way that felt like it belonged, as opposed to being forced and shoved into it. So for me, that was a terrific spot. I think there were a number of spots. I think the Uber Eats spot was also very nicely done. And I come back to the Pfizer one as being, if you're gonna play that chord in the Super Bowl, I think it did a nice job of playing that, serious but uplifting kind of note.
Love it. All right, Kate.
I'm gonna go with Dub Bears, Uber Eats. That's it.
Nice.
I don't have anything more to say.
I love it.
That's all she has to say. That's it.
Robert.
I'm impervious to peer pressure.
I like it.
And I'm a man of the people. And so I'm going to stick with Nike. I believe that, again, I think it's unfair to compare them to themselves. I think that the spot, especially dropping on the Super Bowl when it's really all men on the field playing, and them talking to women about how they should go on about themselves, and then the thing that they continue to face as a obstacle. I think it was talking to the world, and in particular, it was talking to their customer, whether you are male or female, because that's their whole thing, is about being the best athlete you can and, being yourself. And so I felt like they were true to themselves. They were true to the issue in the Super Bowl of trying to stand out and show your creativity. And so I felt like they understood what was happening. Some of the other spots to me felt like they were trying too hard. And so instead of finding something really simple that was smart and amazing, they were doing every trick they had in order to try to make you like them, right? Which is, it almost says to me, you don't really have anything, right? You're working too hard. So that's where I land.
I like it. Karen?
It's the old, if you have to tell me you're cool, you're not cool.
There we
God,
go.
I keep telling
Is it my
people I'm
turn?
cool all the time.
Yeah, go for it.
You have to do bigger arms. I can't hear
Karen,
you guys anymore.
Karen.
So, all right. I'm still going. I know that we talked a little bit about, just being epic for whatever reason, like just putting a bunch of weird shit in a spot. But honestly, if you're going to do that, at least do it like Mountain Dew, where you can make somebody laugh and make them continue to sing their song over and over again. And I felt like that spot, I think why I liked it so much, besides being really, really immature and kind of sophomoric, I felt like I was scrolling through Instagram, and that's the kind of thing that I would see that would be stupid and make me laugh. So that's why I liked it.
Yeah, they did weird well.
Love it. Cameron?
They did, yeah.
There's a reason why I love Trip Westbrook. I have the same choices as his. I will say the thing about Stella that I loved is it reinforced what a tasty beer it is. So when it got to the very end, there was a little gag about the taste. When Matt Damon looked at David Beckham and says, "I have taste." I just thought it played really well. And the other thing is Matt Damon really knows how to throw away a line.
Yeah.
So Trip, I'm right with you, brother. And I thought
go.
Pfizer was awesome. And the thing I loved about Nike is Nike just did a Nike spot. I don't think they tried to do a Super Bowl spot. Nike just did what Nike does, which is tasteful,
That's a good point.
Mhm.
That's a great point.
beautiful, and it was right in their lane.
No,
They own
tri-
it.
no, no
And the
triple.
standards for them are so high.
Yeah,
I mean, they're so high, which is a testament to them and the work that they've been doing.
agreed.
No triple dipping. No triple dipping. All right, Reed, you put this shindig together. Why don't you take us home?
Well, did everybody go? Did
No, we've got everybody on still. Karen had to bounce early, so we'll let
Okay.
Karen out, but everyone else is still on.
Well, I thought I went first with Uber Eats, so I'll.
Oh, never mind. Okay,
I'll
yeah,
return-
I think that's a
return.
wrap then. Excuse me. Managing 10 creatives is not my day job. So, all right. Hey, let's rapid fire plugs. Anything you guys want to throw out so the audience can find you or connect on the interwebs?
My company's called Far From Timid, and I have a platform called Watchable Brands on Substack. So you can find me on LinkedIn or Instagram at the Alonaverse, or be Far From Timid on Instagram. So come hang out. Tell me what you think. I do write a column twice a month called Watchable
Love it.
Brands.
Thanks for joining.
And thank you so much, everybody. I really enjoyed being here. You guys are amazing, and I hope you have
That
an
was fun.
amazing
Thank
week.
you, Ilona. Reed?
Well, everything I'm doing is at reedholmes.com. I've got a newsletter comes out every Friday. I've got a free chapter of my book. I've got some other free stuff there if you want it, but that's kind of my main hub.
Beautiful. Cameron? Oh, Cameron, did you go on mute, my buddy?
I have no idea what I'm going to do when I grow up. But if anybody's interested in a free book, hook up with me on LinkedIn. I'll send you one free book, the book of your choice, and hopefully get you hooked enough to want to read the other two. The
Let's
Advertising
go.
Survival Guide is the series. I am CameronDay.com is my website. You guys are great. This has been so much fun.
I like
And
that
I love
offer.
and I love Trip Westbrook. And I want to give one more plug to Trip Westbrook. Best
I like
TV
it.
commercial I've ever done in my career. He handed me on a silver platter, and I'll never forget it.
Oh, let's go. Let's go.
I love
Let's
you.
go. Love it.
Love it.
Robert.
The name of my company, our company, I should probably say, a lot of very talented people assembling together is Contender. You can find it at contenderlabs.com. We're in the process of redoing our website. We're in our second and a half, maybe almost third year of existence. And then you can find me on LinkedIn at Robert Clifton Jr., which happens to be my handle on Instagram or Facebook, anything. All these people hide behind aliases. I tell them if I'm going to say something, I mean it. So my name's on it.
Let's go. Let's go.
Awesome.
Kate.
It's very easy. Kate Higgins. I actually live in Colorado, not Portland. The agency is opinionatedgroup.com. It's all good. And so, yeah, you can find me in either of those places. But it's nice to meet all of you.
Beautiful.
It's lovely.
You-
Thanks, Dylan.
Trip. Yeah, my pleasure. Trip, you want to point anybody anywhere to connect?
Yeah, certainly the agency is called Firehouse at firehouse.agency. You can catch me up at LinkedIn. I've got a monthly newsletter I put out called Unconventional Wisdom. In fact, I just did a whole thing on non-alc with Athletic Brewing.
Let's go.
So yeah, check it out.
All right. George?
Yeah, you can. I'm all over LinkedIn. Just my name on LinkedIn, and I write a blog, a daily blog called Ad Aged, like Ad Age, but with a D, for people old enough to read. And I write that every day. But and then I have a million corporate websites. A couple of them aren't under restraining order, so you can probably.
Awesome.
I love it. I love it. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for coming on and jamming with these amazing creative voices. It was such a fun night. Reed, thank you so much for coming up with the idea. And yeah, wherever you guys are listening or watching the show tonight, and if you enjoyed what we put down, don't forget to subscribe or follow wherever you might be watching or listening. And believe it or not, if you give us an honest review, that's how the show finds a broader, wider audience organically. And last but not least, if there's somebody out there in creative land, in ad world, someone who is working hard at becoming a copywriter or a creative, and you think that they would benefit from this creative jam that I did with this host of talented people tonight, don't forget to share the show. And with that, we will see you again tomorrow. Later,
Thank you,
everybody.
Dylan.
Thanks, you.
Thank you.